their normal sections. We hope you enjoy it!
On our first trip, we went on a hike around the Anstine Nature Preserve and learned about the different unique habitats. The four we learned about were the pond, coastal sage scrub, mixed riparian, and oak woodlands. We learned about each different habitat and how they're affected by weather, animals, and humans. It was important because it taught us the negative effects of littering and how we can help preserve these wonderful habitats. At one point of the hike, we even learned how to identify poison oak, which is useful in case we ever go on another hike.
In the Habitat hike, students are able to enjoy our loop trail of about 3/4 miles that introduces them to the diverse habitats here at Anstine. These will include the pond, mixed riparian, coastal sage scrub, and oak woodlands. Along the way, the students are marking the maps to determine significant structures along the way.
However you think you represent a prickly pear. And you know you can eat these yourself, right?
I eat them. Nopales.
You have to knock off those spines for sure. Do you need them fried or do you need them fresh? Fresh.
Sometimes I eat them fried.
So, in our first visit to Anstine, we learned about the economist keys. These are descriptions that are used by people to identify plants or animals in nature. In our case, we use them to learn about and identify plants that are a part of local habitat. A few examples of these plants were coastal white sage, lemonade berry, and poison oak. The keys we used were mostly based on the shapes and feel of their leaves. With a few, you could even identify them by smell. However, we did not use touch or smell to identify poison oak to avoid the rash that it gives.
Through our plant identification station, students are able to identify our native plant species using dichotomous keys. Dichotomous keys are ways for students to differentiate plants through significant characteristics such as spiky leaves versus smooth, flowering plant versus berries. Through this, they're able to learn about the local species here along the trails at Anstine.
One of the activities I remember from my trip to Anstine was bird watching. We learned what species of birds there were in the local habitat, how to identify them, and which ones we might expect to see. A few of us saw some hummingbirds, American black crows, mourning doves, and even a red-tailed hawk. We were given binoculars to help us out in looking around for them, and we learned about why we need to keep as quiet as possible to avoid scaring away any birds. While watching for them, it was also important to keep still and not move around much. It was definitely fun to do.
My favorite part about the trip to Anstine was the pond exploration. We started off by splitting the table to 4, then split into 2 groups within the table. Group A was in charge of getting the water to test in the pond. Once we got the cup of water, Group A tested the pH of the pond water. We did this using strips of paper called a litmus test. We dipped the strips into the water and observed the color change in the paper. Then Group B had to test the temperature. We first tested the air temperature, then after we tested the temperature of the pond water. We compared the two and tried to determine if the pond water was a safe environment. In the end, most of us agreed that the pond water was a safe environment for the local species.
At the pond exploration station, the students are learning about the water quality and the health of the pond ecosystem. So first they go out and see the algae that's out in the pond and determine if they think that this is a safe habitat for wildlife or if it isn't. And then they are able to take water samples to determine the temperature, pH, and dissolved oxygen of the water. After that conclusion, the students then determine whether it is a safe habitat for our plants and our wildlife, which they typically find that it is, despite it looking filled with algae.
Oh, right here. Oh, you have to touch the water. Ew. Oh, it's so disgusting.
Oh, really?
I hate you.
Good job, you guys. Thank you for being so careful.
On one of the trips to Anstine, we learned about planting native plants. We learned how to plant them, why it's important, and the proper way to do it. So, gloves are important in case the plant has spikes or thorns. It's also important to dig a hole big enough so that the plant has room to grow. One helpful trick we learned was to fill the hole up with water, letting the ground around it soak up all the water before planting the plant. It helps the ground around the plant soften up enough for the plant's roots to spread and grow better. Finally, it's important to make sure that the plant has enough water for the local habitat to continue to grow.
In our native planting station, the students are responsible for planting species here that make Anstine a beautiful habitat for the wildlife. Each student is given its own plant that they are able to dig into our dirt and learn about the importance of the nutrients in the soil, the water, and sunlight that helps our plants grow. They're able to come back over the years and see the plant's growth from a small plant in its baby stage all the way to the beautiful restoration that's behind us.
Don't poke me. Stamp on it. Go like this, go like this. Okay?
Careful, you don't put your
Let's for it. Gotta make it bigger than the pot. Bigger than the pot. Gotta make it bigger! I know, April. No! Look! A fossil. I got a fossil.
It's not a fossil, April.
Yeah, it is. It's a fossil.
During one of our 3 trips to Anstine, we learned about insect anatomy. The goal of this exercise was to teach us about different body parts of an insect. The main 3 were head, abdomen, and a thorax. Other include their eyes, legs, and antennae. After we learned about them, we went out into the field to find, capture, and observe some of them up close. We did this with a small plastic bug box and a magnifying glass. It was a lot of fun.
At the insect anatomy station, students first learn about the anatomical structure of insects that we have here at Anstine. Then they're given bug boxes, magnifying glasses, and identification cards to identify the different species we have in the area.
Did you step on the spider?
I found a salamander.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get it?
No, I was about to get it, but somebody got scared.
Who, you?
Oh, she got scared.
Jody, what'd you find? Jody, what'd you find?
He grabbed the picture.
Nothing. Mama, what'd you find?
Nothing.
What'd you find? Jonathan, what'd you find?
I found a spider.
What's the spider? Why?
threw it
Are you
out.
scared of spiders?
No.
Are you sure?
It was dead.
It was dead?
I found a dead roly-poly.
Brianna, why are you finding dead roly-polies?
I got it. I got it. What did you get? Mr. Aaron, this is my second bug.
You found another bug? Is that this? Oh, look at that. What'd you find?
A pincher bug.
Oh, no way. Did it pinch you?
I got nothing.
What'd you find? No camera?
Away from me.
No camera?
A little bug.
What kind of bug is it?
I don't know.
We caught a bug?
Insect.
Nice.
Mr. Aaron, what's the word of the day?
The word of the day is habitat, the natural home or environment of a plant, animal, or organism.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Why, of course. We observed a few species of plants and birds in their natural habitat.
Word!
Thanks for joining us again on this special episode of Olive News. I'm your anchor, Brianna. Have a wonderful day. But don't forget the quote. Look deep into nature and then you'll understand everything better. Albert Einstein.